welcome to Relationship Realities with
Roland
and Reyna. We're going to give you a little funny, a little crazy, and a whole lot of reality.
Welcome back, listeners.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, be sure to stick around. I'm sure you'll learn a thing or two. And if anything, you'll get a couple laughs out of this one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So last week, we discussed relationships in the workplace, and we really took a look at intimate relationships in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, we were going to discuss finances. However, there were some things that occurred throughout the week that have led us to kind of take another look at relationships in the workplace, but from a different angle. So be sure to stick around because we're going to be discussing that. We're going to give you some pros and cons, as well as the juicy story.
Yes, the story, of course.
And be sure to stick around to the end because we are going to be discussing the poll that we have up and as well as our giveaway. So typically, I think that most people have a pretty good gauge, for the most part, of what's going on in their workplace. And obviously, there are some environments that are a lot more stringent and a lot more structured than others. For example, in the military, obviously, I was in a lot more structured environment than, the job that I'm in right now. And so those roles were very
structured,
very strict. I did not interact with people that were junior to me or senior to me unless it was work related specifically. And even with my peers, I really kept those things separate because it was imperative from a leadership standpoint to know this is where I'm coming from, that's where you're coming from, and those lines are solid. And I think it's a little bit more difficult when you get out into the civilian world to kind of gauge who you can trust, who you can't trust, and those lines, I think, get blurred a little bit. And unfortunately, that's where people start to run into problems.
Yeah.
You think that someone is your friend, or you hang out after work. I know of a lot of people that will go, for drinks, for example, after work for happy hour. And unfortunately, those lines get blurred a little bit, and especially between girlfriends, gal pals, or, guys. And sometimes it backfires on you. And a lot of times I hear of people adding each other on social media, for example, on Facebook. Oh, let's be friends on Facebook. And I think that really leads to a lot of problems. I personally don't have anybody that I work with on my social media until I leave that job.
Right.
And then I'll add them on social media. And for me, it's not necessarily that I think they're spying on me or I think that they're, whatever the reason. I just like to keep it separate. There are very few exceptions to that, but that's just my personal perspective. And it's really served me well thus far,
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that, especially with the story that's about to come out of this.
Right.
I totally agree with you, and I've learned my lesson for sure. But you would totally agree that the structure behind the military is totally different than it is in the civilian world. Yes?
Absolutely, yes.
Because I think it's very common these days to find co-workers, friends on Facebook, Instagram.
Right.
So,
well, like I said, I think that there are exceptions. I would be lying if I said I never added anybody that I was working with currently as a friend on social media, because you do have those onesies and twosies, but I think that those should be selected with caution. You don't want to allow everyone into your world.
Absolutely not.
Right.
I find it even more interesting the fact that supervision and management are befriending those below them at work.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
I definitely have never supported that. That's no different than an officer,
right, in the military. Right.
Befriending on Facebook an enlisted guy. Yeah, I definitely don't support that, but it goes on all the time.
Right.
Like
it's
very
that's
common.
I think one of the facets that is great about the military. Unfortunately, you have the bad apples in the military too, but it's one of the facets, the leadership 101 is you have those very distinct lines. And I think that's one thing that possibly civilian America could learn from. But, who am I to say?
Yeah.
So, speaking about supervisors and coworkers and taking a page out of Reyna's book,
Right.
I think we need to get into your story, Roland. What happened this week?
This week was a week. It was definitely an interesting week.
Right.
So, to start off with, I would definitely recommend never befriending at least supervision at your job, because stuff with my supervisor went down this week. Uh-oh. So, I no longer work for the power company. Okay.
Tell me what happened.
So I go in Monday to give my 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, no big deal. Just 2-week notice, just like anybody else does. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
Okay. I tell them my reasonings. I say, I think, I'm better suited somewhere else.
Right.
This job doesn't support my lifestyle anymore.
Which is the right thing to do. You're stepping aside and allowing someone else to take that opportunity.
Exactly. My boss was taken back. Okay. Now, mind you, I did have him and a bunch of other people at my job on my Facebook.
Right.
But when Reyna and I decided to do this little project here, I said, you know what? I think it's better for us just to be us.
Right.
So he proceeded to say, I've been seeing some things online that I don't know if it's a very good thing to have while you're working at the power company. And I was like,
are you low pro stripping or something, Roland?
No, not at all. I was taken back. I didn't know what to say. I just said, what do you mean?
So wait, let me clarify.
Yeah?
Are you talking about our videos?
Yeah, our relationship reality videos.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't know what to say. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, I've been seeing these relationship videos that you and your wife have been making. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I don't really think relationship videos or just videos are good to have while you're working at the power company.
Because you're not allowed to have a life.
Right. Mind you, folks, this guy is not on my Facebook. So I'm wondering how he saw this video and why it's such a big deal.
Right. Evidently, you have a pretty interesting life.
Yes. Are they living through us, honey?
I think they are.
Oh, my goodness.
That's all right. That's okay.
That is okay. But anyway, we went back and forth about the whole video thing. Regardless, it didn't matter.
Right.
I was leaving.
Right.
2 weeks, done. I'm moving on. Better things. It supports us. It's good. So we leave. I leave for like 3-4 hours. I'll get a call to come back into the office to talk to him again. And I said, okay. I didn't have an idea of what he was going to talk about, but I walked in the office and he said, Roland, I know your last day is 2 weeks from now, but that's not the case. Your last day is today. I said, really? And he said, yeah, I didn't do my due diligence and research, but yeah, we don't do 2 weeks here.
Wow.
Now, that is completely false. I don't know who gave him the order to, essentially fire me.
Right.
But that's what they did.
Wow. So let me make sure I'm tracking, because this is
tracking.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So this supervisor, you had a good relationship with him, right?
I feel I did.
So basically the rug got pulled out from under you.
It did. It definitely did. And it was crazy.
And how long had you worked there for?
Almost 3 years.
Wow.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
No kidding. I know. I saw firsthand.
I know. I mean, working all the time, did everything I needed to do. Never gave him any issues, really. I mean, It was just, I'm just a guy doing his thing.
Right.
But, yeah.
Just goes to show you, you cannot unfortunately. Know who to trust, who not to trust.
I called around a little bit to, say my goodbyes because I didn't know I was going to go.
Right.
So I was saying my goodbyes,
To your coworkers.
to my coworkers, and I had all these people on my Facebook at one time, and
Right.
we had good relationships or whatever. No one there had my back, After going through all that I had done for 3 years, and
Right.
having these people's back and being there for them and helping them, in the end, they just didn't even care.
Right.
It's just like you said. It just goes to show that it doesn't.
You never know.
You never
It's
know who to
unfortunate.
trust.
Right.
So that's my story. Yeah, it sounds like you really didn't have those issues with the social media and stuff like that, though.
That's because I learned my lesson.
Okay.
Right after I left active duty, I obviously joined the civilian workforce
Okay.
and made the mistake of adding a couple of coworkers to my social media. Now, if you will recall, listeners, I've been dancing for a long time, and there have been a lot of different festivals or different places that I've performed at that required me to be gone all weekend, out of town, etc. And there were quite a few times that I would have to take either a Monday off or a Friday off to accommodate my travel schedule.
Okay.
Now, mind you, this is all leave time that I had accumulated through my job. And I never thought anything of it because it's my leave time. I can put in for it, I can request it, etc.
Right.
Well, there were probably 2 or 3, I think I want to say 3 festivals that were in close proximity of each other. Every 2 weeks or so, it seemed like I was having a festival to go to. So I was taking either a Monday or a Friday and didn't really think anything of it. There was 2 of us that were working at the front. So if I wasn't there, I had a coworker that would cover the front.
Right.
Not a big issue. Well, I get pulled into my manager's office, and she wants to talk to me about the time that I'm missing from work. Now, mind you, this is time that I had requested.
Right. You got approved for it.
Right.
Okay.
But she's concerned that it's always either a Monday or a Friday.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she really can't ask me what I'm doing because it's my leave time that I have rightfully accumulated and utilizing.
Yeah.
And then she tells me, well, I see that you're dancing a lot. So if you can go and dance, you should be coming into work.
No, she didn't.
Yes.
No,
and now, mind you,
she
I did not
didn't.
have her on my social media because she was
You
my
did not?
supervisor. I did not.
Okay.
But I had others at my work on my social media. So that told me that somebody else.
Right, that your coworkers
Right.
were snitching.
Right.
Damn.
And it wasn't really a big deal, but what irritated me was that what difference did it make?
Right. When I said that they're snitching, it's not even snitching.
Right.
Because
it's gossip is what it was.
It was gossip. That's exactly what it was.
Yep. So I went through and I deleted absolutely
Right.
everybody that I worked with, with the exception of my very close friend that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could trust her. So, I went through and deleted everybody else. And that was my lesson learned in the civilian world to not have anybody, that I currently worked with on my social media. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't because I was doing anything shady or anything like that. It was just simply, I didn't like people being in my business that had a direct impact on my work environment. And, when I was in the military, I kept everything very separate, like I said, to the point where people didn't even know that I had kids. People didn't know that I had a family. They didn't know anything about me because I kept all of that very separate. And it was something that I should have carried over into the civilian world. Maybe not as stringent as that, but it should have been something that I continued. And I definitely learned my lesson.
Yeah.
And it's something that I still continue to this day. I definitely don't add coworkers or definitely not supervisors to my social media. Even though I do hear about it at work, I just kind of shake my head and just keep it moving. It's not my business.
Yeah. Question, though, with your little story. I found that once I deleted the folks from my Facebook, my social media, they look at you different, right? They almost look at you like they're not your friend anymore.
Right.
Right? It's almost like it's a status thing. Like you have to be my friend on Facebook or I'm not going to associate with you because they look at you totally different.
Right.
Did you get any of that when you deleted those people off your Facebook?
Not that I was aware of, but mind you, my personality is very different than yours.
That's true.
I am definitely a lot more standoffish than you are.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. It's just, unfortunately, that's how my personality is. I have RBF. If
What's that?
it's resting beep face.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. I'm definitely not as outgoing as you are, Roland.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Our stories are so juicy. You know? They are so juicy,
I don't know about
think.
juicy, but
I don't know. They are a little bit juicy, I
it's
think.
definitely real life. And I'm
Yeah, it
sure
is
our
real life.
listeners have definitely had similar experiences and maybe worse. You know, I'm curious to hear if
I am
anybody
too.
has had
I'm
any experiences like
big
this.
time curious. So
Right.
I guess just to wrap it all up with our thoughts, mine is I don't think from here on out I'm ever adding anyone to my Facebook at all.
Right.
As long as I feel like I'm a good gauge of someone's character. At least I did back then too, and look where I am now. Anyway,
It's because you're a good person with a big heart. That's why.
Sweetie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really don't think I'm gonna add anymore on my social media. I think that's just gonna be my thing, our thing,
Right.
and yeah, I'm just not gonna add them. It just doesn't add up for anything good, at least in my eyes.
Unfortunately, right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like I said, I definitely learned my lesson with that first job. And, you know, I'm very selective. I'm not going to say it is 100%. I won't ever add anybody, but it's definitely one of those things where you have to be selective about who you allow into your world. And, you know, social media is an extension of our lives and our world. And, you know, for me, I have pictures of my family or the things that, you know, that we go out and do, our adventures. And I always think to myself, would I want those people to know, or do I want to be able to tell them on my own? Or, so, you know, it's one of those, you gauge that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did say that I would never do it. It's about, like we've said, you know, surrounding yourself with good people.
Right. Positive people.
Positive
Open-minded,
people.
right.
You know, those people at my previous job just were closed-minded.
Right.
They just weren't good people. And I knew going into what we're doing now, I couldn't tell them, right? Because, you know, you never bring a big idea to somebody with a small mind.
Right.
Because they're just going to shut you down. They're going to, you know, belittle you or tell you it's never going to happen or it's never going to work or anything like that. So I'm sure I'll find, you know, good, open-minded people, and those, you know, might have a chance to be lucky enough to be on my Facebook to see my little goofiness. You know what I'm saying?
OMG, guys.
Yeah.
Right. I absolutely agree. And, you know, it's just the journey that we're on right now.
Yeah.
We are positive people and we're heading in a positive direction. And, you know, our listeners, I'm sure, are positive people. So that's why we are super excited that they're on this journey with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we did not cover finances this week,
Yes.
next week, hopefully there won't be any other craziness that happens.
I hope not. Not like this past week.
Right. So next week we will be covering finances with some tips and some tricks. And also, you want to talk about our videos that we release?
So we started this little video series. It's like a tips and tricks kind of, you know, like top 5 date night ideas.
Right.
Yeah. We released that video. That's on YouTube. And we're going to be releasing videos just like that.
Right.
Every Tuesday. Yeah.
Super excited.
It's exciting and it's fun and it's funny.
Right.
We have a really good time making them and editing them, and it's really fun.
So you can find us on YouTube. You can subscribe. All of our social media is available on our website, rrwithrr.com, which is being reworked.
It's
right
being
now.
reworked, being rebuilt, but stay tuned for the updated version of the site.
Super excited about that, guys.
Yeah.
Roland has been working super hard on it, and it
Yeah.
looks amazing so far.
Yeah.
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 So, our poll.
Yes, the poll.
Yes. So, we had asked last week on last week's podcast about dating in the workplace, and we were curious to see if anybody had actually seen dating in the workplace or relationships in the workplace. And so far, the last time I checked, 100% of the people that have
Yeah.
responded have seen some type of relationship in the workplace.
100%.
100%.
That's a big thing.
It is. And a couple of people so far have left comments about their own relationships in the workplace, which I think is fantastic. And we love that. We definitely want to hear more of your stories. We're going to have that poll open for one more week.
Yeah.
So next week we will be discussing the results of that poll. So definitely keep it coming.
Keep that coming.
And our giveaway.
Yes, our giveaway.
So we also decided to extend that for a week because we changed the rules a little bit.
Yeah. So the rules originally were just rate and review us on iTunes.
Right.
And we've changed that now. So we've heard that some of y'all don't have iTunes and stuff like that. So for those of you who don't do iTunes, you can still subscribe to us on Podbean.
Right.
And you can leave us a review on Facebook.
Yes, there is a little tab towards the top of the page where you can leave a review. You can rate us and review us on Facebook. So that will take the place of the rate and review from iTunes.
Yes.
So we are extending that giveaway contest for one more week.
Okay.
So you have until Sunday night, everybody, to get that done. And also be sure to comment on the post that has all of the giveaway information. Make sure you comment done.
Right.
So we know that you did it and we can enter you into the contest.
Yeah. Yeah. And good luck, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it for this week's episode. Be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode on finances.
Yes, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, share, and leave us your comments because we would love to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, folks, you take care.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.